Okay, so here's the next item on my list. This old Philco Cathedral radio here. And this is a model 3760. Okay, and the way Philco did their numbers, 37 is the model year, and the 60 is just a number. But so 1937, this is one of the last Cathedral radios Philco ever made. By this point in time, this Cathedral style look was kind of old-fashioned, so they were moving on to just regular rectangular table radios and stuff like that. But so, okay, this is mine. This is not a customer's, but it is going to be sold. So the finish is in very good condition. The only damage is right here, this veneer up here. And really, it's not really that noticeable even. Okay, the front, this is called, I believe, photo finish. This is printed on here. This isn't real veneer. We're lucky to have the photo finish in good shape on this one. Okay, it's got very nice cloth up here. There's no stains, there's no rips, there's nothing. It's perfect. This radio's been well taken care of. Okay, we've got a knob missing. Okay, the chassis is loose. Someone's been messing around with this. Okay, but that's not a big deal unless they've really screwed something up. Okay, we look and we see the entire shaft is missing. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm not really even sure what that is. Okay, there's band switch. It's probably volume. This could have been our tone switch. Okay, here's the back of the radio. And there's our knob, our missing knob. Okay, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tubes. I think. Other than that, it looks pretty untouched. It's got a nice layer of dust on it, which means no one has touched this for quite a while. That's a good thing. Okay, so let's get busy on this. See if we can make this puppy work again. Okay, I'm going to start with pulling the knobs off. Okay, these are very common knobs. These are Philco mid to late 30s knobs. They're quite common. Okay, like I mentioned, there's no screws holding this in like they're supposed to be. Who knows? Someone's been in here. Okay, the speaker has to come out. And there's one nut holding it on. Oh boy, there's supposed to be 4. A small little tear right there, but nothing much. The dial's in good shape. It's a little dirty. Okay, you cannot use water to clean these dials. This ink is water soluble and it will come right off. Okay, yes, this was the tone control that's missing. And evidently it had the power switch on it too. Okay, I went and printed off the schematic for this set. Okay, Philcos of this vintage were notorious for open coils. Specifically, the oscillator feedback coil and the 2 antenna coils for the AM band and police band. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to check those coils. They aren't hard to rewind. I've rewound a handful of them myself. They're not too hard. Okay, so we're just going to go down through here and we're going to check all these little coils. Okay, we're going to check the power transformer too, and The field coil and output transformer that's on the speaker here. Okay, so all these coils check good. And I'm kind of surprised actually. The last two Philcos I had, both of those coils were wide open. Okay, so now we're going to start recapping it. I tested the power transformer and all the output transformer and the field coil and the speaker as well. Those are kind of unobtainable, not really unobtainable, just expensive parts, and it's a good idea to check those first before you do a whole bunch of work on the set and waste your time. Okay, the tone control. I was looking at this and it was just a 2-position switch for the tone, a high and a low setting, and it was also tied to the power switch. The power switch was included in it. But I have an idea of what we can use to replace that, because you're not going to find an original tone switch for sale unless you buy a whole nother parts chassis or part radio that you can take that part off of. You're just not going to find one. Okay, so what I've done, I've recapped all of the paper caps. I haven't touched the blocks yet. We're going to do those next. But I got that cap that was buried down here, and I actually moved it right here. It's connected to the exact same spot in the circuit, but it's just in a different place. That's the only way I could do it. I could not get to this darn thing. Okay, so the next thing, we've got 2 caps in this one and 1 cap in this one. Okay, so what you do to replace one of these is you take the screw out. There's a screw bolting it to the chassis here. Okay, and then what I do is I dig this out. You can dig it out from the bottom. It's a rolled up paper capacitor, but it's potted in tar. They poured tar in there with it. So we have to dig that out, and then we'll stick. I have a brand new one right here, and we're going to stick that up through the bottom and then resolder it in here, and you won't even be able to tell that it's ever been touched. Alright, so there it is. Luckily we only have one more to do, because that took forever. Some people like to cut these terminals off, because it's a lot quicker. I'm not a fan of that. Because if someone wanted to, someone down the road wanted to make this radio original again, you know, they're kind of screwed because he went and cut all the terminals off. So I don't do that. I restuff them. That's, in my opinion, the way it should be done. Okay. So that was one of the tone caps, I'm pretty sure. This one has across the line caps in it. Okay, so I went ahead and I restuffed this block right here, and that takes care of all the paper caps in this chassis. It took me about 5 minutes or so. Not too long, but you could imagine how long this would take if this chassis was just stuffed with them, and that's what they usually are. In the early 30s, Philco almost exclusively used these Bakelite potted capacitors. And a lot of collectors will avoid these early Philco sets because of that. Okay, so the next thing, we have 3 electrolytic caps to replace. And okay, we've got a 12, an 8, and a 16 microfarad. Okay, 2 of them, they're negatives. Their negatives go to ground. Okay, but this one does not. This one is isolated from ground. Okay, and that would be this one. Okay, and that's the 12. Okay, and so the way you replace these electrolytics, they've got the center stud on here, and it's isolated from the can. The can is the negative. The stud up here is the positive. These are polarized capacitors. These are electrolytics. So the way I do them is I cut off, I leave all the connections on, and I just cut that stud off. Okay, so there's one of them done. So I've got the negative running over to here, and it's grounded. Okay, the positive, I have it hooked to that terminal I cut off. And the leads on these capacitors are nice and strong. It's not going anywhere. So we just bent it away so it's not going to touch anything. And that is fine. Okay, the next one, I've got one down here. Okay, and again, the negative on this one is grounded. This one is the one that's isolated. It is not grounded. Okay, and there's our cap, a 20 microfarad. This one was a 10. It was originally an 8. I stuck a 10 in there. This is a 16. Okay, we have to find a spot that's grounded. I don't see one right off the bat. If we look, we can follow these wires and see where they go. These are all going down here. Okay, those go to the speaker and the output tube. But there's one that goes up here, and it goes to that stud, that connector right there. So what we can do is we can hook our cap in right over here, because there's a nice ground point right there. And we can just put some heat shrink over this and keep it isolated. Okay, normally you wouldn't want to do that. You would want to keep the parts in the original area they were. But I don't think lead dress will be an issue with this. Lead dress is oh, how the wires were originally routed from the factory. They're routed like they are for a certain reason, to keep interference from certain circuits out of other ones. I don't think that'll be an issue here, but if it is, we'll just move this to a different spot. Okay, so I got that electrolytic replaced. I got it tacked up here, and I put some heat shrink on this down here so it won't touch anything. And I went ahead and I did this one too. This is the one that the negative didn't go to ground. It went to the separate little stud right here. Okay, so that takes care of all the capacitors in the radio. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to attempt to power this up and see how much more work we have to do. So since we don't have a cord on it, what I've got is just a normal old crappy cord with some alligator clips on the end. And see, right down here is where the cord was. So I'm going to clip these on there and make sure these don't touch, or you will see some fireworks. Okay, I've got my power supply over here. Okay, and these wires right here went to the power switch. I just have them twisted together so the radio's on. And just like always, we're going to bring the power up slowly. And we're watching the current very carefully to make sure we don't have any shorts in here. And nothing. Okay, wait, let it warm up. Okay, we get nothing. Okay, here's the volume control. And touching any of these leads should make a buzz or a hum, and it's not. So that would indicate... Okay, so here's the volume control. And if we don't get a buzz when we touch the studs on it, the little connectors, that would indicate that there's a problem in this half of the radio. This is all the audio amp right here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle the tubes. That baby's hot. Okay, nothing there. Okay, that was the 6F6. Okay, 6Q7. Okay, this one isn't even... And there we go. Okay, let's put an antenna on this. I've got just a little piece of wire, that's all you need. I've got my transmitter turned on.
Accidents will happen now and then. I didn't mean to be a fool for you. I
And that's my transmitter.
To have some fun for a week or two, then do it all up with someone new. But accidents will happen when you least expect them. Accidents.
All that buzzing is from the various lights I have around here. They all make some kind of a noise on the AM band, some kind of interference. Okay, but I can't turn those off or else I'll be sitting in the dark. But it's picking up my transmitter, so I know it's working at least. It seems a little weak. I'm going to check all the resistors in here and check the tubes. And if it doesn't wake up, then I suspect the alignment is off. But we'll find out.
In return, but better men than you have had to learn that accidents will happen when you least expect them. Accidents will happen time and time again. You think you've got it planned. You think you're in command.
Okay, so it's basically working. Okay. Okay, now it's time to check the resistors. Alright. Okay, this one, okay, you read these just like the old dog bone ones. Body and dot. So body is green, so 5, brown's 1, and then, okay, orange is 3, so 51K. Okay, about 52K, that one's good. Okay, this one has the paint marked off of it. I'm going to have to look it up on the schematic here. Okay, here's a layout of the underside of this chassis with the different part numbers, and you can look them up down here. So that one's part 18. Okay, it says 10K. Okay. No, it reads about 22K. Is that right? Part 18. These numbers are so small. Okay, 20. It's supposed to be 20K, measures 22. That's perfectly fine. That is within tolerance. Okay, there's a big one hidden inside here. Okay, that is part number 19. Okay, that's 9K at 2 watts. That's a big one. 9K. 11K. That's good. Okay. Brown, black, orange. That's 10K. 10.5K. Beautiful. Okay, here's a 1 meg hidden up here. 1.2 meg. That's good. Okay, so all the resistors in here measure good, which is actually kind of surprising, but okay, so on to check the tubes. Okay, so the first one we're going to check is the rectifier, and that is 5Y4. Alright. Okay, set the line. Looks good. Okay, 5Y4, 5 volts on the filament. Okay, D wants 2 and 3. Okay, and E wants 4. 20 volts on the plate. And W will test it. Okay. Good. Very good. All right. Well, okay. Okay, this is change E to 6. And retest it. Again, good. Okay. Okay, 6F6. Good. Okay. Okay, what is this? It's so dusty. I can't even tell. 6A8G. Okay, 6G just means it's glass tube. Okay, 6A8. Okay, 6.3. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 on D. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. Okay, E wants 4, 5, and 9. 18 volts on the plate. Okay, and to test it, W and X. Okay, this one has a little grid cap. You just slide this right onto it. Okay, W and X. Looks good. Okay, second part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on D. And AC 6, 8 on D, or E. AC 6, 8. Okay. A, 6, 8. Okay, 38 volts on the plate. And X, Z. Good. Okay, good. Okay, I'll test these other two off camera.
At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret.
We'll keep you informed.
La clé de l'histoire aussi. La clé de l'histoire, c'est de retrouver sa vraie famille. Un peu comme si nos illusions étaient toujours rattrapées par nos racines. Vous pensez ça?
Of the box.
Poor circulation, inflammation, even heart.
And 700 yards.
What you said.
Por el mismo error, oigan bien, levántense y gocen de la vida.
Okay, so the alignment, I touched it up. It was a little bit off. Okay, I checked the tubes. The tubes were just fine. So the alignment woke it up quite a bit. So it's a good player now. It's playing good. You just heard it. Okay, so here's the tone control and the radio. Well, I guess not the tone control. The tone control that's not in the radio, I should say. But here's what we should have. Okay, so here's the 6F6 audio output tube. And right on the plate, I'll get something to point with. Okay, so right on the plate here, heading to the transformer. And we have this line coming down. Okay, we've got two caps in series to ground. So what that does the capacitors, depending on the value of them, will take a certain amount of the high end off the audio and just shove it to ground, just get rid of it. And that will give the impression that there's more bass. So right now, with these two caps in series, we have a lot of capacity going to ground, so it will be, I believe, in the bass selection right here. Okay, or it shows the switch. If the switch goes right here, that would be the high selection, because we only have this one capacitor going to ground. Okay, so that's what should be in this radio, but what we don't have. And here's what I've come up with to replace it. This will actually be an enhancement to the audio tone, because you'll have more selectivity, more variability. Okay, so R6F6, and here's the plate. Okay, that's headed to the transformer. Okay, and we can take this and we put a capacitor right there. And we'll have to choose what value that is for the tone that you like best. Okay, if I had to guess, I would say anywhere from 0.05 to 0.2 microfarad. Okay, and then we have a 100K pot. And this will give you more selectivity over the tone, instead of just a high position and a low position. So this will also have our on-off switch on it, and that's what we want. Alright, let's find us a 100K pot to use. Okay, so no matter what, we're going to have to grind the shaft down to fit these knobs. Okay, some of these are marked, some of them are not. Okay, that's a 200K. That would probably work, but 116K it says. Okay, we're going to use that one. And it has the power switch on it, so that will work just fine. Alright. You know, this shaft, I think, just by eyeballing it, is the exact same length as the others. So I don't think we'll have to trim it. Got nice and tight. Alright. Okay, so these two terminals on the back are the power switch, the on-off, and that is these two wires right here. Okay, and then we had 3 connectors. We only need 2 though. Okay, the middle, this with the arrow is the middle, and then this is one side. See, the other side isn't connected, so I just cut it off. Okay, so we still have our 2 capacitors in here from the original tone control circuit, but we only need 1. So I'm going to take one out. Okay, so the capacitor that we're going to use is inside here. And originally that would have been a 0.03. Okay, so we're going to see how that sounds. If it doesn't sound right, we can parallel another one across here to change the value a little bit. So I need to run a wire from here to the middle lug, no, to the high side. The middle lug gets grounded. Okay, and then we'll just see how that sounds. Alright, I have it wired up just as I said on here. And here's the moment of truth to see if it'll work. Okay, the radio is on.
This season, so I can see why you'd be hesitant to do that. You take a shot with Lynn Bowden again. 3 wideouts to the left, and 1 back to the right. Wide out to the near side is Upshaw. Bowden's got a setback to his right. Tennessee rushing with 4. Bowden has time. Now he's scrambling around in trouble.
That sounds very nice. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, pick up the difference in the audio, but to me it sounds absolutely perfect. Okay, so now that we have that done, the very last thing we're going to do is stick a cord on it. Alright, here's the cord I'm going to use. It's just an old extension cord. It's got a nice plug on it though, and it's nice and flexible. Okay, I pick these up from Goodwill for $1 or $2 usually. This is a real nice and long one. Okay, so the end we don't need it. Get rid of it. Okay. Okay, so it went right there. Okay, so it has a little grommet here where the cord originally went. I'm going to stick it down in there, and we're going to tie a knot so that no one... Oh, I just screwed it up. There we go. Okay, we tie a knot so that the cord can't be pulled back through. Okay, and that might work. I don't know if... Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay. And this old wire usually needs some flux. It's pretty oxidized. And that looks good. So what flux does is, as it heats up, as you heat it up with your iron, it turns slightly corrosive. And it'll eat that oxidation off that stops the solder from sticking. And it makes the solder stick to these old wires very, very well. Okay, that is on there. Nice and strong. All right. Okay, so that gets a nice modern cord on it. All right. This radio is basically done. I'm still going to make a couple minor changes. I'm going to get all this dust off, clean it up a little bit, and the rubber grommets need replaced, and the owner, or the owner-to-be, wants me to add an iPhone iPod jack to it so he can plug his phone into it. So I'm going to do that.
And again on December the 8th at 6 p.m. So open to the public, and it tells us the special Christmas.
Anything that's for God's use is sanctified. Insurance company.
Simply for card members. Like this great deal from Colette, one of Canada's leading guided travel and tour companies. CARP got you a discount of $100 per person. You could save 10 times the cost of your membership on just one trip. Not yet a member? Sign up online and start saving in minutes. Go to startsavingnow.ca. That's startsavingnow.ca. Money you didn't know you had? Well, now you know.
Do you need cash flow from your portfolio?
Dennis.
A knee injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, so Brian Hoyer said,
Northern Plains on Sun.
unlikely.
Bernie Sanders and one of his supporters.
Overdoses.
Out against him.
Edwards.
A number of
Président sortant Gabriel Lemieux et le député.
The whistleblower is a disgrace to our country, a disgrace. And the whistleblower...
Alright, that pretty much completes the radio chassis. Like I said, those rubber grommets is really the only thing I'm still waiting on, and it'll be a couple weeks before I get them. Okay, so I went ahead and kind of cleaned up the chassis a little bit, got all the dust off it. Okay, I installed the iPod jack I was telling you about. Here it is, and here's the switch that accompanies it. Okay, and that just turns the audio on or off. One side's radio, the other side's the input. Okay. So I guess it's time to put it back in the cabinet. There was a tiny little rip in the speaker. I put some Elmer's glue on it and just let that sit. It'll harden overnight. Be just fine. It wasn't buzzing or anything, but I just thought I should glue it while I had it out.
You'll never get old. Oh, Glendora, I want to see more of you.
And having picnics, just taking.
This program from Adventist World Radio. Research written in
Interview and President. Estimate for you.
Do we have time?
You just answer 4 simple questions to get.
Alright, so that is how we restore a Philco 37-60. And here's my CD player I have plugged into it, and here's the switch. So this side's radio, and when you want to listen to whatever you have plugged into it, which could be anything, your phone or iPad CD player, you just flip the switch over that way. I'll tell you what, these tube radios, they just have a certain sound to them. They sound much warmer. I love it, and a lot of other people love it too. Okay, like most things I fix that I have to sell, I've fallen in love with it. I can't help it. It's such a nice looking and performing radio. I just love it. But I have to sell it. Anyhow, let me know what you think about it in the comments. And total restore time was about 5-6 hours. If I would have had to do the cabinet, it would have been a lot longer. But anyhow, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you.